She was often in a house husband is a man who stays home while his partner goes to work. His responsibilities include everything typically done by traditional housewives, plus general home repairs, car maintenance, and lawn care. Occasionally, the house husband's wife may help with meal preparation and child care, but for the most part, he manages these tasks himself. I'm not sure I would have survived this role if it had started when my 3 children were young. We were a family of modest means, so all the kids attended daycare, while my wife and I tried to earn enough money to maintain a middle-class lifestyle. As soon as my children entered middle school, my wife enrolled in an MBA program because her employer reimbursed the tuition. This meant I had to take on more responsibilities to keep the household running smoothly while she studied and attended classes, both online and on campus. I didn't mind the extra work as I knew that an MBA degree would help her advance in her career and earn a higher salary. Amy's MBA program was tailored for executives working full-time, so it took nearly 3 years to complete. By then, the kids were already off to college. Fortunately, all 3 were excellent students and qualified for several scholarships. Nonetheless, having 3 kids in college is an enormous financial burden. I worked as the accounting department manager in a small family-owned manufacturing company. They paid me a fair salary, but it was nowhere near what a CPA at a large corporation would make. Amy's hard work finally paid off, and she was promoted to Executive Vice President of Product Development at the multinational insurance company, where she had worked for over 15 years. The new position came with a significant salary increase, a car allowance, an expense account, and a share of year-end bonuses along with other corporate employees. Her unexpected success couldn't have come at a better time. The economy experienced a sharp downturn, and my employer was hit especially hard. They struggled for nearly a year before ultimately selling the business to our main competitor. The new owners wasted no time dismantling our operations and closing the plant. The new owners offered me a job at their plant, but it was 300 miles away. The salary would have been a bit lower than what I was earning, about a third of Amy's salary, not including bonuses. I had no choice but to decline the job offer, and just like that, I found myself unemployed. I tried to find new work and quickly realized that no one in our area was hiring until the economy improved. John, this isn't the end of the world. I'm doing well, and we have enough funds in the college accounts for the kids to finish school, so don't worry so much. I know, but I've worked my whole life. I can't just sit around doing nothing. Oh, don't worry. I have a long list of important tasks that you never had time for, so you won't be sitting idle, she said with a smile. And so it began. I became a house husband at the age of 48. Amy's list was indeed extensive, and it took me most of the year to complete all the home improvement projects she suggested. Just as I finished up with the house, she moved on to some very labor-intensive landscaping projects. While I worked on improving our home, Amy continued to climb the corporate ladder. She was promoted to senior EVP and received a substantial salary increase. She loved her job and was highly respected by other bigwigs. She was often invited to parties and social events where she mingled with the city's most influential people. Naturally, I was expected to accompany her to many of these events. I'm not sure when it first started, but very slowly I began to notice changes in how Amy treated me at these events. At first, she insisted that I stay by her side as she flitted around, engaging in brief, superficial conversations with all the important people. Gradually, she began asking me to stand by our table or sit at the bar while she worked the room. Before long, I was spending most evenings either entertaining the wives of executives or simply sitting alone. Eventually, it all became unbearable when she took me along for a weekend at a beautiful resort. On the first evening, she left me with the wives and was gone for nearly 3 hours. The next day, she informed me that she had several meetings with other top executives and board members. She mentioned that the wives had planned a spa day. All right, fine, but what am I supposed to do all day? I can't hang out with the women while they're doing mud baths and all that other crap. I don't know, John, go for a hike or something. I have important business to attend to, and I don't have time to entertain you. I held my tongue, knowing she was a bit tense, but I swore to myself that this would be the last time she dragged me along to one of these events. All right, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. In the end, I hung out by the pool and at the small tiki bar next to it. I had just finished my second gin and tonic when I noticed a group of people stepping out onto the elevated terrace of one of the large conference rooms, taking seats under the umbrellas. I recognized Amy, accompanied by a tall gentleman with a refined appearance. He placed his hand on her lower back and pointed to one of the tables at the edge of the terrace. I watched as they sat down, pulling their chairs closer together. He wrapped his arm around her shoulders as she leaned into him. No one else joined them, and I saw her gently kiss him on the cheek a few times. He smiled at her and leaned in to whisper in her ear. She giggled and playfully slapped his hand as he laughed. This continued for about 30 minutes before they stood up and returned inside with everyone else. I replayed in my mind what I had seen. They were certainly much cozier than two married people should be with someone other than their spouse. I noticed they were only slightly concerned about their colleagues witnessing their overly friendly behavior, which made me wonder what might be happening behind the closed doors of the office. Although I had met all her colleagues, I wasn't familiar with the guy she was with. I assumed he was a board member, but needed to confirm it. I headed back to our room to grab my laptop and do a bit of digging. It took only a few seconds to find a photo of Stephen Sensen, the chairman of Mega's board. Stephen was married to Margot Davis Sensen, daughter of William Davis, the former director and founder of Mega. Now that was interesting. If something is going on, Amy is playing with fire. Old Stevie had married the boss's daughter, and her father was still the corporation's majority shareholder. That evening, Amy sat beside me at dinner. She chatted with a few other EVPs and seemed to be enjoying herself. I talked with Diana, a trophy wife sitting next to me. I was surprised to find her attractive and with a wicked sense of humor. I enjoyed our conversation and couldn't help but steal quick glances at the impressive décolletage she was showing off. After the tables were cleared, the lights dimmed, and the music started playing, Amy took the opportunity to lean in and whisper that she would be dancing with some of her colleagues. These were the first words she had said to me in over an hour. She didn't wait for my response, got up, and headed to the dance floor with some guy. Diana spoke up, "Better get used to it. We spouses usually get ignored at these kinds of things. I can't believe your husband would leave you unattended among all these alpha males." She laughed. "I'm sure he's off dancing with a board member's wife, trying to win as much favor as he can. He just assumes that some minor bigwigs will ask me to dance, and that I'll obediently sing their praises to each one of them. Oh well, perhaps before you begin your assignment, you could do me the honor of a dance. That is, if you're not too embarrassed to be seen with the spouse of an EVP." She smiled. "You're about 20 years younger than my usual dance partners, so I expect you not to drool all over my décolletage." "I make no promises. The décolletage is certainly drool-worthy, but I'll do my best to control myself." Diana pressed her magnificent chest against mine as we danced. I managed not to drool. Our dance was cut short when her husband stepped in and then led her away, only to pass her off to his boss. I suppose he wanted her to place her assets where he thought they might benefit him. I sat at the table watching as Amy danced with several board members before settling exclusively on Stephen Sensen. After their fourth or fifth dance, the orchestra took a break, and she and Sensen went over to his table. I considered leaving, but decided to observe a little longer. At one point, Amy glanced in my direction and saw me sitting alone. A few moments later, she walked over to the table and sat across from me. "John, you must be terribly bored. Why don't you just go back to the room, and I'll join you later after I freshen up?" "Oh, well, the orchestra is magnificent, and I'd hate to end the evening without at least one dance with my charming wife, if you could fit me into the lineup." "John, this is business, important business. Now please just do as I ask, and we'll discuss it later." She stood up and walked away. I stared after her. She dismissed me. She actually told me, "Go to your room," as if I were some naughty child. I was furious, but I had no reason to just sit there and be ignored. I waited a bit, then stood up and left. I didn't want to sulk in our room, so I went to the small bar near the resort lobby. It was quiet, and I needed to reassess my situation. It was clear to me that Amy was either involved with or soon would be involved with Sensen. I wasn't going to tolerate this, but for now, I had no proof of any wrongdoing on Amy's part. I sipped my drink for a while and decided to call it a night. I walked back past the event hall and peeked inside. Amy was on the dance floor, pressed close to Sensen, His hand was low on her back, not quite on her rear. I asked one of the staff how long the orchestra would be playing, and he said they would finish at 11 o'clock, with the hall closing at midnight. I must have dozed off a bit while sitting up in bed watching TV. The lights were off, but I distinctly saw the clock read 12:20 when Amy finally pushed open our door. She was carrying her shoes and sweater. She must have expected me to be asleep because she gasped when I turned on the bedside light. Her hair was disheveled and her lipstick was gone. I looked her up and down, and she flushed deeply. I thought you'd be asleep. I only had 3 drinks all evening. I'm furious, not drunk. Do you want to explain to me where you were? You know where I was. Dancing. I told you I needed to dance with my colleagues and make an appearance. It's all part of the game, John, she said as if speaking to a slow learner. Try again from the beginning. The orchestra left at 11 o'clock. So what exactly were you doing for the past 2.5 hours? Talking with Simpson. Margot is in Europe with her mother, so he's here alone.